Hey everyone, our next book is number 70, Psychic Sisters. Can Jessica and Elizabeth really read each other's minds? Obviously not. I've definitely been procrastinating this book because I read it many years ago and I remembered it and it's not good. And we could have made it super good just by shifting the order of events super easily. So very briefly on the cover, we have Elizabeth in the turquoise, Jessica in the red. The kids behind them, the girl in the red is Maria Slater. No idea who the other two are. Maybe Lila, I don't know. That guy is very clearly saying, get me out of here. I don't want to be here. So the twins, mainly Jessica, convince all the kids that they can read each other's minds, which we know is not real. But the kids put them through some like simple tests to prove that, oh yes, it's real. And what they do is ask the girls, oh, think of a number and think of a president. And then, they're going to make it super hard now. Think of both a piece of clothing and a color. And for the president, I think the majority of the people would pick either the current president or George Washington. And then when they want both the clothing and a color, obviously they go to black tie, because what else do we really associate being paired like that? Where this book messed up right in the beginning, it was in the very first chapter. The girls had decided they were going to stay up super late to watch the teen movie marathon, but of course they fell asleep in the living room and the parents just left them there rather than send them to bed. And then in the morning, while the girls are kind of still asleep but in that waking up process, mom is on a super long phone call about a dinner she's setting up for her part-time interior design job. I did not realize this was a task for a part-timer, but okay. And basically the girls had heard how many people she needs the party to be catered for, which is the number that they needed. And then when they were asked, think of a president, she wants to be in the George Washington room and it'll be a black tie event. So they were like in their half sleepy waking up phase, hearing the same information. And then they used that to convince the kids that they could read each other's minds. So it's silly, but we could have made it work if we didn't find out about mom's phone call until after the girls had done their trick for their classmates. And, at least then the reader would have been as much in the dark and as shocked and surprised as the middle schoolers were. So I think it could have been good, but just putting mom's phone call right in the beginning kind of ruined it. One thing that was really funny is dad got up at one point to check on the girls, and he wound up staying up and watching a Johnny Buck movie where he's a vampire or something. And I just thought that was funny that of all the people in Sweet Valley who watched the late movie, it winds up being dad. So there is a talent show, and of course the girls are going to be billed as the main event. And it's like, no one cares. It's a middle school talent show. And they realize they're not really psychic, which is shocking, I know. And Maria helps them to try and come up with ways to fake it. So she helps them, if you scratch your eyebrow, it's this letter. And if you cough, it's this. And it all sounds super fake and obvious. But she also tells them a little bit about a role she had like as the daughter of a psychic or something, and all the shenanigans that character was doing. So I did like the inclusion of Maria in this one. And then at the very end, mom needs to drop off a deposit check to the guy. I don't even know who he is, but he basically runs the catering business or the hall or whatever. What's his name? Mr. Peters, Mr. Mason. I don't know. No, not Mr. Mason. He's Randy's uncle. And Jessica convinces him that they need to be the stars of this documentary that he is making. So I don't know what this guy's name is, but Elizabeth has to drop off a check to him. And it's like, why can't mom take care of this herself, or wire him the money, or drop a check in the mail, or all sorts of things that don't involve a 12-year-old delivering hundreds of dollars. And she gets locked in the stairwell, which is so stupid on her part because the building is under construction. There's no one there. And this guy offers to walk her to the door, but super tough Elizabeth says, oh no, you don't have to bother. I can manage. And she gets locked in the stairwell. And Jessica then tries to use this as proof that they really are psychic because she knows that Elizabeth is in trouble. And it's like, well, yeah, she didn't show up for the act. Anyone who knows Elizabeth would know that this is out of character for her. So they all leave the talent show and go rescue Elizabeth, and it's very predictable. It didn't work for me, which is unfortunate because I generally prefer the kind of joke, funny books, and I thought this one was just dumb. So there are a number of things that are kind of funny that I wanted to read. So the first one is where Jessica is trying to convince Randy to talk to his uncle that the girls need to be in this documentary that he's making about twins and not telekinesis, telepathy. And so they're talking, and this is Jessica. Jessica, it happened when we were really little. I had an overwhelming sense that Elizabeth was in trouble. Terrible, terrible trouble. I sensed that she was locked in the basement. Sure enough, when my parents went down there to look, they found her. And what? That's it? That's the whole story? Isn't that enough? Randy rolled his eyes. That's not much of a story. I mean, anyone with common sense might have decided to look in the basement for a missing kid. Well, the basement was flooded with water? Jessica added tentatively. You mean a couple of inches? No, I mean a real flood. The whole time I was getting those feelings that she was in trouble. I had a suffocating feeling like I couldn't breathe. When my parents finally went down to the basement, the water was up to Elizabeth's chin, and she was standing on her tiptoes to keep from drowning. And that's on page 19, by the way. We later find out that Jessica had locked Elizabeth in the basement. She is such a drama queen. 51. We get this upsetting news from Maria, who had been a child star. Maria, I wish I were going to be in the show. Jessica, why aren't you? You're the only person in school with any professional stage experience. Maria, that's exactly why I can't be in the show. I have professional experience, and the talent show is only open to amateurs. I was like, what kind of talent show is this? Is it the middle school? I don't hardly think the gaming commission is being involved. Nor do I think there's major cash prizes for the winners. Of course she could totally be in it. Oh, this one. 85. Randy is talking about his uncle. He's flying to Sweet Valley tomorrow afternoon, but he has to be in Washington tomorrow morning. Elizabeth, what's he doing in Washington? Randy, he's the state's witness in a federal trial of a phony psychic. I don't think this is what federal trials do. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but unless there was massive embezzlement or swindling going on across many states. I don't think that's really what goes on in federal cases. And then 89, for some reason, Elizabeth believes this. Elizabeth says, even if Randy's uncle didn't spot us, which he would, it's still dishonest and phony. It's wrong, Jessica. You heard Randy. Phony psychics undermine the credibility of real psychics. Okay. That's why the police and the CIA don't take them seriously. Again, the CIA doesn't cover phony psychics. Okay. Jessica. Well, they shouldn't take them seriously because I bet they're all just as phony as we are. If you look at it that way, we're doing the right thing. We're making the world a safer place by keeping the police and the CIA from wasting their time with people like us. Elizabeth, I hate it when you do that. Do what? I hate it when you twist things around and make stuff that's stupid and wrong sound logical and moral. Jessica, but we will be doing the right thing, Lizzie. People are paying money to be entertained. We have an obligation to entertain them. And I think we should be worried about Jessica being a potential swindler or embezzler in the future. She seems quite able to manipulate people, even at such a young age. Page 99. Elizabeth went over to the mirror. In spite of her growing anxiety, she couldn't help smiling at her reflection. She really did look like a psychic. They both did. They had cut stars and moons out of metallic paper and pinned them onto their long, silky dresses. Then they had each made themselves a turban out of a scarf and finished off the whole effect with long, dangling earrings and an armful of bangle bracelets. And it sounds completely like they're dressing like 12-year-olds for Halloween. I don't know of anyone whose authentic outfit is metallic paper, but okay. And it's just funny that the whole time Elizabeth is telling us psychics aren't real, but as soon as she puts on the costume, oh, she looks like a real psychic. And it's just like this book. And then at the talent show, this is just so unbelievable. This is right after a chapter break. We want the Psychic Sisters. We want the Psychic Sisters. The audience was shouting and stamping their feet. And I seriously doubt that they were. I'm going to guess 99% of the audience were family members who felt obligated to be there. And they couldn't care less. They just want it to be over so they can go home. So this book, it was absolutely ridiculous. It could have worked, but it needed some pretty major changes and some things needed to be rearranged. The next book is book 71. What will happen when the soccer craze hits Sweet Valley? Find out in Sweet Valley Twins and Friends. Number 71, Jessica Saves the Trees. And I'm trying to figure out why the kids are so obsessed with soccer at this point. So this book was published in 1993. So the next one was as well. And the Babysitters Club did a similar book where everyone's obsessed with soccer. That one's not published until 97. The Women's World Cup was started in 91. The first tournament was in 92. So we couldn't even argue that these books were intended to hype up the Women's World Cup. And 93 was not an Olympic year either. So I'm not sure about the timing of this one. That book, I'm guessing, is going to be terrible. Jessica has never cared about trees before, so I'll get to it. This one, The other, what was the one? The Carnival Ghost. That one had a better treatment of a fortune teller. This one was just silly. So go ahead and skip this one. Hopefully Jessica Saves the Trees is better. Although I'm guessing it won't be. I don't particularly like soccer, so I'm guessing I'll be pretty bored with that book. But at least I don't believe I've read that one before. So that'll be a new one. This was Psychic Sisters, Sweet Valley Twins, number 70. Thanks for watching. Bye.